passed through the House of Representatives by a very thin margin, like 2 votes today. Very, very close. Now it will go to the Senate. California is the #1 agricultural state in the United States of America. And of course, Northern California is huge in some types of crops. And let's find out first what kind of crops grow here. We have a farmer in our midst here at the table. You can call in with questions, 243-5493. We have Paul Joe's here, and he is we want to go to Tyler first, right? Now, Tyler, you're down in Tehama County near Dairyville.
That's correct.
And you have the Edwards Ranch. Can you tell us what you grow there?
So my family and I grow prunes, almonds, and walnuts, and we also have cattle on the ranch as well.
And a few generations?
I'm a 5th-generation prune farmer. We originated in the Santa Clara Valley in the 1800s, and in the 1950s we sold out of the Santa Clara Valley and came up here to the beautiful North State.
So it's not exactly a small family farm. It's a little larger than small.
We're a good-sized family farm. Mm-hmm. We're a good-sized economical unit.
Mm-hmm. And also, you serve other farmers in the area. Tell us what you do.
Well, I volunteer on the Tehama County Farm Bureau. I'm currently the president of the Tehama County Farm Bureau. Mm-hmm. I'm also involved with the California Prune Board and our local Farm Service Agency Board as well.
Okay, well, we're going to be counting on you tonight as our farmer at the table. Also with us is Aaron Johnson, and Aaron is with the Shasta County Farm Bureau. And tell us what you do there.
So I'm the manager of the Shasta County Farm Bureau, which is an agricultural membership organization, and we keep farmers farming in California. It's a grassroots organization, so you join as a county member, but you're also represented at the state level through California Farm Bureau, and we also have all 50 states are represented, as well as Puerto Rico and Alaska, and then you're also a member of American Farm Bureau. But I do the daily running the office. I answer the phones, run meetings, do the budgets. I get to do exciting things like this. Yeah.
So how did you end up in this role?
I've always been passionate about agriculture. I took every ag class that I could at West Valley High School, and after that I didn't know what I was going to do, so I attended Chico State. I graduated and I didn't know
Did you go through the ag program at Chico?
I actually did not. No, I did business administration with an emphasis in management, but I always knew that I wanted to serve people in some way. So 3.5 years ago, I went into the Shasta County Farm Bureau office and I said, I have ridiculous amounts of time that I could get in trouble with, so please use me. So I ended up volunteering for 5 months, and then I was elected as the manager of the Shasta County Farm Bureau in May of 2015, and it's been one of the greatest passions of my life.
So tell us, about your family and in relation to agriculture. How did you get this bug?
So the Johnson, my father's side, we farmed in Colusa County. We were tree, like nut and fruit products. And then my father moved from there to Oklahoma and then back to Redding, where he met my mother. And we have a small hobby farm. We have Angus cows and hay products. So it's very small scale, very sustainable for our family. We always take what we have on our property and put it back in our fridge. It's not anything we're selling commercially, but we do have a passion for agriculture.
So at the Edwards Ranch down near Dairyville, you have prunes, walnuts, almonds, and cattle.
That's correct.
So what else do we have up here, say in Shasta County, that are not on that list that we should be thinking about?
So our main players are timber products. You think of your Sierra Pacific, they have tree products, and they also sell windows. And we also do like the biomass. You sell the trees recovered from like forest fires, and you turn that into energy through PG&E. That's a huge agricultural component that people don't really think of is farming, but it is absolutely harvesting. And then another one is apiary, your bee products, and that's not just honey. You think of the contract with your almond and walnut tree farmers, and they do a lot of pollinating. And we also have livestock, and that's like their chickens, goats, beef. Ranching is a huge driver of the Shasta County economy.
Yeah. Strawberry nursery stock.
Strawberry nursery
Absolutely.
stock.
We have, my boss is actually Liz with Lassen Canyon Nursery, and that's a huge driver. And they supply a lot of jobs in the economy as well.
And now we're going to Paul Jose. And you are with Shasta County.
Correct.
And you serve the farmers.
Yes.
And tell us what you do. You're like that job that is in every county that has to do with
Yeah.
weights and measures and agriculture. What do you do?
I'm the agricultural commissioner and sealer of weights and measures. On the ag side, we regulate pesticides. We make sure that any incoming plants are free from pests and also certify plants for export. We check nursery stock. We work in the organic and the egg programs. We trap to make sure that the area is free of exotic pests, the medfly and other fruit flies. And as I said, make sure that no pests come in and export we can certify plants for export.
So people want to know which pests are good and which pests are bad. You're the man to talk to?
Yeah. If they have something that they don't know what it is, bring it in the office. And if we can't identify there at the office, we can send it down to the state and get a verification identification.
Do you use the Farm Bureau for, the agricultural?
The Ag Commissioner's Office is a great advocate for us.
What do they do for you as a farmer?
Well, the one thing they're doing is watching for pests that could come into the area. They're inspecting our beehives to make sure invasive pests aren't brought in from out of state, because many of our bees come from out of state. So that's a big help. And a lot of times, frankly, if there's a complaint with pesticide drift or anything like that, a lot of times the Ag Commissioner's Office is almost an advocate for us, because they see the facts and understand what's going on, and a lot of times they're able to kind of help the public understand what we're doing, so they can actually be a real asset to us.
So we do have some questions that have come in from some viewers and folks that contributed them through Facebook. So if you would like to talk agriculture or get your questions answered, great time to call 243-5493. That's 243-5493. And before we start with these questions, I want to ask you all, what are some of the common misconceptions that you hear from people about agriculture? And you hear them go, no, it's not like that. Let's start with Erin.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions that really gets me is that the farmer doesn't care about the ultimate consumer, and that they are just concerned about like your bottom line and profitability and just busting out as many commodities as you can. I have friends who have a dairy in Ferndale, and they've just switched over from conventional to organic farming because they believe that was the best for their consumers, and they're always trying to just continue towards healthier, better product.
And Chico State has an organic dairy that they're training people
Absolutely.
on. So is that popular?
It is, yeah. There's been a huge growth in the organic industry.
How about you? What do you think, Tyler, about the misconceptions?
Well, I think Erin hit on that. The misconception you hear a lot in the news about corporate farms is not necessarily accurate, because a lot of farms are incorporated for tax purposes, and in fact they're owned by multi-generation families. So it's important to remember that.
So just because you're a corporation does not mean you're not a family farm.
Just because your farm's incorporated doesn't mean that corporation is not solely owned by that family. Exactly.
So is it the Farm Bureau that gives business advice to farmers about you should start a corporation, or this is the business part, or is that something that the Agricultural Commissioner helps?
That would be something your tax preparer or a business attorney would suggest to you, make those suggestions to you. The Farm Bureau is there to advocate for us politically.
Politically.
So.
Is that mainly what you do, or?
The Farm Bureau is a complex animal in that our sole purpose is to continue agriculture and the production of food and fiber, and we do that through means of political advocacy. We do have a large farm pack, but we also do that through ag education, because if we're not growing the future flow of agriculture, of farmers, then we obviously can't continue to produce the food that we need. So it's not solely this political organization, but we do
education
that through
to our youth, and
yes, through advocacy, and that's through education.
Well, it's nice having a young person here at the table talking about farming. It's refreshing. And you say there are a lot of young people getting into the business, huh?
Yes, there are. The California Farm Bureau Federation.
Not just that we're born and raised that way, but
No, absolutely. And it's a difficult industry to start up in. It's like many other businesses, starting out from scratch is difficult, but the California Farm Bureau Federation created a program. It's called the Young Farmers and Ranchers that caters to the 18 to 35-year-old, the like starting out agriculturalists. And we have meetings and we all help each other. And
is there funding for young farmers to experiment and get into the industry?
there are many incentives for starting out agriculturally.
The Farm Service Agency has a few young farmer and rancher programs.
That's part of the Farm Bill.
That would be funded through the Farm Bill, exactly. And there's some loan guarantee programs. If you're unable to get the proper needed credit to maybe make a purchase, they will do a guarantee for you and allow you to get that loan. They do have some operating loans as well. And there's also some grants out there, I believe, that if a person was to look around long enough.
Yeah, but if you want to see the youth in coming into agriculture, the Shasta District Fair is going on right now.
Right now.
And yeah, right now. The 4-H FFA and independents, the kids that brought all their animals in, that have raised the animals, and their showmanship exhibition that's down there. Tomorrow they've got the beef and the goat showmanship. To support the youth.
They auction them off at the end.
On Saturday, you can go down to the auction and support the youth.
That's been a
in
business for
agriculture.
those kids, like through the school year, right?
Yes,
This
yeah,
is
yeah. To see the business end of it, and the work that's involved.
Well, I know some folks are involved with 4-H over the years, and what a great leadership program too. It's kind of amazing. Were you involved with it when you were a kid?
So I unfortunately wasn't a part of 4-H. I am now. I partner with the Shasta County 4-H, and we do a lot of educational. We have the Shasta County Farm Bureau hosts a 4th grade field trip for nearly 600 students, and we partner with the FFA students, that's the high school level, and then the 4-H, which spans from youth to high school. And
Were either of you in 4-H or?
Yeah, I did 1 year of 4-H, raised a hog for the fair when I was in junior high. It was a lot of fun, and then when I was in high school, I was involved with FFA. And we did, I was on an ag marketing team, an ag mechanics team, where we got to travel around to lots of different colleges and see them when we were in high school. So it was kind of an eye-opener for us.
What would you tell a parent as if they were thinking, I wonder if I should get my kid involved in one of these programs? What would you tell them?
I would say that if your child benefits from a hands-on education, the high schools nowadays are doing a great job in their ag departments with ag sciences instead of just taking a regular biology class. And then a lot of the leadership opportunities, if they get involved in those things, and also learning some skills and some trades. It's a great opportunity for kids nowadays that I've seen a lot of first generation agriculturalists come out of these programs because they got turned on by agriculture. So.
And to be in 4-H or FFA, you don't need to live on a ranch. You don't need to live on a farm. It's not just raising a hog or something.
You don't have to be a farm kid to be a part of this.
There's plenty of other activities and events that go on that don't involve necessarily raising animals for the fair.
Are you involved in the county with the young kids yourself? Or?
Through the fair, through the junior
fair?
livestock, yeah. And again, it's the Sealer Weights and Measures at the weigh day, weighing all the animals that come into the fair.
And Paul, what do you think is a misconception or two that people you're dying to tell people that's just not true?
The misconception about the farmer and getting up early in the morning and jumping on the tractor and driving around, at the end of the day they harvest their crop and everything's coming up roses. It's a very tough business to be in. You're at the whim of factors you have no control over, the weather, prices that that other people are going to be paying you. They don't get to set their own prices. So to make a living, it's very tough.
And it's capital intensive.
Yes, yeah, and the another part would be
being a farmer is stressful. Yeah.
It can be really stressful.
Yeah.
But everything can be.
Interesting. So let's go to our calls, and don't forget, you can call 243-5493 if you would like to submit a question. So Jake from Reading asks, how will new tariffs affect the industry? Very important question because of what's going on right now in our federal government. Besides the Farm Bill going through, we have the tariffs, and it's a changing landscape right now. Who would like to weigh in on how this tariffs might affect the industry?
Well,
I know you have.
yeah.
I have plenty to say.
Yeah.
Over 67% of our nut crops in the state are exported. So 6.5 out of 10 nuts in your hand are going overseas in a container. And so it's extremely important that we're competitive in the world market.
And how has that changed over time?
Over time, we've had other countries become more active in the marketplace and start growing more. So we're competing with South America now where we used to not. So that's definitely hurts us. But as our dollar gets stronger, that also affects our bottom line. Believe it or not, when our economy crashed in 2008 were some of the best years we had, because our dollar got so weak that the other countries were paying a lot more for our products than they are when our dollar gets strong. So between that, our dollar being fairly strong right now in the world economy, and the tariffs that are possibly going to be imposed upon us, it's definitely going to affect our bottom line.
A very large percentage of the almonds grown in California are exported. Shasta County actually exports over 63 million strawberry plants that went to other countries last year.
And also they go to Southern California, right? As
Well,
stock, as root stock
right,
or
but
something?
yeah, there were 63 million that were exported. You know, not
To another
counting the ones
country.
that you know go to Southern California or to Florida or some of the southern states. So, you know, as you know, tariffs are going to impact that, whether those you know, if they're going to be able to make those sales or not. Again, looking at other markets that might be cheaper.
So does this adds to your stress level? So what do? You call and talk to the Farm Bureau and say, do something for me? You talk to your
And the Farm Bureau,
Congress member? What do you do?
We do because they can help negotiate, put pressure on our politicians to negotiate some of these products possibly out of these
And you're
retaliatory.
representing a whole bunch of other farmers too. So
Yeah.
what have you said to legislators to make
Well,
your point?
we continue to let them know that how important it is to us, and they assure us that they're working on it. But of course, they can only do so much negotiations with these other countries. But by letting our administration know that these actions that they're taking, what they're going to do to our economy, our ag economy, is very important. And
So let's look at your almonds, your walnuts, your prunes, your cattle. What are you most worried about considering the tariff situation?
Well, I think right now for us, I'm mostly worried about our walnuts because the walnut industry's in a huge growth phase right now. The almonds have sort of leveled off just a little bit. So their marketplace has been fairly stable. The walnuts we're still growing our markets worldwide currently to absorb the production that we have. And so
you're worried about some investments, and these are long-term investments. You have trees that don't really fruit for a while. You don't get nuts for a while, right? So there's a considerable investment
you
going
have
on
about
right
5
now.
years of writing a lot of checks with nothing coming back. And then
And then a number of years where you can't change a crop.
Yeah, you have a 30-year investment there at least, hopefully. And so you're definitely in it for the long haul. You don't just switch.
What would you like people to know about this tariff situation? What do you think people should know in order to understand what's at stake?
You know, it started with, you know, completely unrelated to ag. And some of the retaliatory tariffs are going to impact the ag industry. To what degree, it's not known at this point, but it'll
We were talking
definitely
about
have an impact.
steel at
Right,
first,
steel
right?
and aluminum, and
Yeah.
now all of a sudden it's, you know, the soybeans and the nuts and you know, the other, you know,
Beef.
and beef going to.
So we have a lot of cattle up here, but you say we have a lot of specialty crops. They're not necessarily, are the specialty crops the ones that would be hit more by tariffs, or would it be the commodities?
I would think that
Commodities would normally be first.
Yeah. Just
But a
because of
lot
the
of the
volume.
commodities would be consumed domestically, I believe, anyway, correct? And whereas most of our specialty crops tend to be exported a lot more, I think. And then in the North State, at least, that it will definitely affect the nut crops more so than our commodities, of course.
So we're kind of curious about the changes in the market. You said almonds have kind of stabilized, but there's such an increase. You know, we're hearing about almond milk and almond butter and all of the different things that are coming out more for consumers that people buy and they want. You don't just get bulk peanut butter at Winco anymore. You can get bulk almond butter
Yeah.
as well. So what do you think about these kind of changes? What do you think?
Well, any kind of additional uses and ingredient uses for our products is really a great thing for us. It makes the consumer more used to eating our products, and they incorporate more and more of it into their diet. That's sort of one of the problems with the prune industry is because there's pits in the prunes, the pit fragment is always a concern to the second user, or the packer who's possibly baking with it. They're afraid of taking the risk of putting something in a product that somebody could come back at them for. So the nuts are, of course, a good ingredient, and they have fresh uses, direct consumption, as well as industrial uses. So that helps.
So why wouldn't it just be increasing if there's so much more use of the almonds in these products, health food products and things like that? Why wouldn't it just be increasing?
Well, they have been, and as they do, the price generally goes up to the
And
grower.
then everybody plants more, and then you get worried because you have a lot.
Yeah.
So how much has the almond industry changed in the years that you've been up here?
So when I graduated around high school in the mid '90s, the almond crop in our state was setting around 400 million pounds. Today, we're in the neighborhood of 2.2 billion pounds, just in that short period of time. So
This is considerable.
So there was some big growth, but luckily they were able to sell the product thanks to our exporting, of course.
So what about, say, the rice industry? Wild rice isn't exactly rice, right? But it's...
It's a grass. It's different, especially the wild rice grower.
But has that increased? What's going on in eastern Shasta County and ag?
The acres haven't increased or decreased that much. It'll vary a little bit each year. And again, it's a rather a niche market. The co-op up there handles most of the wild rice, or all the wild rice that's grown in Shasta County, and then they'll market it. Again,
How about walnuts?
There have been several hundred acres in Shasta County recently planted that aren't in production yet. Shasta County doesn't have any commercial almonds, but the one nut crop we have is walnuts.
So we have a call from Las Molinas from Mindy's, who said walnut farming's dropped significantly in the past 20 years, and asked, is this due to weather, in your opinion, or the economy? So has walnut farming dropped?
There's our walnut farmer right there.
I'm a little confused by that call, but I think it's safe to say that walnuts have doubled in probably the last 20 years in our state.
So it hasn't really dropped, but are there concerns related to the weather? Are there concerns related to the economy that affect your trees?
I think the availability of water is probably going to be one of the big things for our walnuts. And luckily where we are here in the far north state, we have a pretty good supply of groundwater. But as you head down the state, they get to have more and more problems.
I'm going to remind you who our guests are in case you have any questions about agriculture. Aaron Johnson is the president of the Shasta County Farm Bureau and owns Edwards Ranch, and that's out in
Tyler.
Oh, that's Tyler.
Tyler. Sorry, why did I? It's not. There we go. Sorry about that. Tyler. Because I wrote your ranch name to Aaron.
Oh.
That's why. So Tyler, over there is our farmer, and he is with the Tehama County Farm Bureau, the president of that, and Aaron, Shasta County Farm Bureau president. Manager. There we go. We're going to fix all this. And then we have Paul Jose, Agricultural Commissioner and Sealer of Weights and Measures.
For Shasta
County. Okay, we have Diane from Happy Valley. How have recent fires affected crops? I think we'll go to Erin on that from the Farm Bureau.
So I know last year there was a devastating fire, or multiple devastating fires in the Napa area, and it really hit the viticulture, your wineries pretty hard. And we had several.
Mendocino County too.
Exactly, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
mountain wineries had some problems
several
when they had their fires.
Yeah.
We had several Farm Bureau members offering to taking all their pruning equipment to the areas so that they could salvage everything that they could before the fires hit them. There was a great community that came together to help them, but it did
you go?
devastate. I wasn't available. I was.
You had to stay here and coordinate
I
everything.
had to man the ship at the Farm Bureau, but I definitely wanted to. And there were devastating fires that damaged quite a bit of the land available for livestock grazing, which is pretty devastating during the summer months when hay isn't available. Hay is produced in the summer months, so you usually feed grass hay, but there were fires that took so much land that they had to relocate their cattle, and we had ranchers shipping cows. They would drive down to wherever the fire was and rehome the cattle wherever they needed to be. It's a great, that's what I appreciate about the agriculture industry. There's such a great burden for everyone's problems that we all come together and help each other because we understand, like Tyler understands the problems that farmers have to overcome.
So you're not always feeling alone out on the farm?
No, it's a tight-knit community. Don't forget the timber industry as well with the fires.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the down in Napa and Sonoma counties when they had those fires, the Ag Commissioner office down there was coordinating to get growers in through blockades, and they were actually escorting them in so they
interesting.
could get to the grapes to harvest them. In those areas where it was safe, but they were still, had evacuations. They were allowing the Ag Commissioner to guide landowners in so that they could harvest the grapes
Interesting.
and get some of the crops out.
That is interesting. How about technology? It just seems farming, you're talking about misnomers. Farming is now business, science, technology, so many different skills that you need. I mean, you could still just do it in your backyard and do a very small scale thing, but the larger scale farms and ranches seem very tied into technology. So what's new with the technology that maybe people don't know about?
A few months ago, I was able to tour a dairy in Stevenson, California, right outside Hillmar, the Turlock area. My friend David Jones and his father have a dairy out there, and they have an automated milker that the cows actually walk onto themselves, and it straps the milkers onto the udders, and the cows are being comfortably milked and fed grain during the whole system, and it's so comfortable that they actually come onto the milker multiple times a day, and they ear tag all of the cows with this metal chip so they can tell when they've come too many times, so they actually turn away the cattle because they're so spoiled by it. And the machine actually is connected to my friend David's phone, so he gets text messages and reports and updates and everything, so it's
Tracking individual cattle production too,
Yeah.
not production of each cow.
Yeah, I lived on a dairy. It was not like that.
Yeah.
It was totally not like that. How about you, Paul? What do you think some of the new technologies are that you're seeing?
A lot of the farmers and ranchers are using satellite imagery, to assist with either pest problems or irrigation needs. Tyler was talking earlier about some of the irrigation changes. The drip tape irrigation, the drip system irrigation versus the row flooding that was
But we're
years
so
ago.
rural. Is there enough broadband in our rural areas to be able to do this?
Definitely have issues in the Fall River area with being able to use all the technology because of the limitation of broadband.
Do the farmers have to use satellite? Is that what they do? It's
They
expensive
again,
or
in certain areas you can, in certain areas it just is not workable.
Interesting. So what do they do? And the people in the areas that are
Well,
trying to farm that don't have the access?
They can't use some of the technologies that are available to other growers. Yeah.
What are you using in Tehama County on your ranch?
I think in light of the recent droughts we've been having, water management is definitely one of our exciting areas for technology. We have real-time soil-based moisture monitoring through weather stations, where you could literally pick up your iPhone and tell what the moisture level is of your soil. We also have disease models.
So that's going to make it so you don't use as much water.
It'll allow us to know when we have the proper amount of water in the soil profile, and so we're not over irrigating or under irrigating, so we're able to achieve the maximum amount of yield possible. So it's a big thing. The disease modeling through the weather stations. Many of my friends have weather stations in their fields that are reporting real time to them. They're able to tell if there's the possibility of leaf diseases developing in their orchard through modeling. So those are some pretty exciting things that we're able to do.
I'm kind of curious too, how about in terms of labor and farm jobs? I mean, do you have certain technologies you have to bring in because you're short of labor?
We do anytime we can incorporate technology to help ease our labor need, we certainly will. But
do you have a labor shortage?
We do absolutely have a labor shortage, and what we've noticed, unfortunately, because the lack of competition for jobs, the quality of labor sometimes has been dipping down because people are getting pretty comfortable knowing they are about guaranteed a job anywhere they want it right now.
What about
in
summer?
agriculture.
Do you have kids? I mean, do you have a young people?
Child labor laws are pretty rough in our
you have
state.
your own kid and they only can work so many hours.
This is the first year I'm able to employ legally my 15-and-a-half-year-old son.
Okay.
So I can't even run him through the books lately. I've had to just pay him, under the table in cash, just so that I can teach him some work ethic.
What about the young ones that are of age? I mean, are there jobs for them?
There are.
Somebody called a little while ago too and was asking, what is the job outlook in the ag industry?
We're very limited.
There's entry level and there's owning a farm.
We're very limited in what we can have children do. They're not allowed to be around any kind of heavy equipment. And so that's a problem. They're not allowed to be around any kind of chemicals or spraying activity, so that can be a problem at times. So there's a number of things. Legally we probably can't even let them go out on a four-wheeler to the field. We probably need to drive them out there because they're not allowed to operate equipment until they're older. So it gets to be a little bit of a problem. One thing I wanted to bring up with the labor shortage, a lot of people think, well, we need to bring in guest workers and house them and let them help harvest our crops. But the problem is we need them year-round here in the North State with many of our crops. The other problem is when you incorporate more technology, what happens is it takes a little bit more skilled person with more training. And therefore, we can't be turning them over every year. We need long-term, year-round employees. Most of my employees have been with us for well in excess of 15 to 20 years. And so
your entry-level jobs are kind of a little more sophisticated now?
The entry-level jobs are getting sophisticated, and there's getting to be fewer of them, to where, again, you need to be trainable, have some skills, and hopefully stick around.
So if somebody comes and wants a job, what are you looking for in their resume? What are you looking for before you would hire them?
Somebody that'll show up to work on time and work hard, enjoy working outdoors, of course, and be willing to learn. Those are the main things.
You don't have enough people knocking on your door?
No.
Interesting. Are any of you doing something to try to get more people to work in the industry?
Shasta College several years ago instituted the pest control advisor course regimen, where you take a certain set of courses and get field experience, and we've been hiring some of the Shasta College students at the ag department to give them that field experience, and that qualifies them to take the pest control advisor license in California. And they go out and scout in fields, to determine if there are pest problems or disease problems in a field, and make recommendations for controlling it, whether it's pesticide or some other cultivation work or something like that. But again, that wasn't available before. It was only through a four-year university. But in working with Shasta College and UC Farm Extension Office, we managed to get the additional classes available all at Shasta College to be able to have that coursework.
Kind of curious on the ag industry here. Are there some full-time jobs? Are they just, you say they're not as seasonal as they used to be? Or what if somebody just wanted to work 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week? Are there jobs for people like that? Are you looking for like full-time people if you want to get in this industry?
It gets difficult in our operation to hire too many part-time people because first of all, the equipment that they may be operating, if they want to be an equipment operator, the equipment's very expensive, so it's important that we keep it moving as efficiently as possible. So that's a problem. As far as if they're interested in doing hand labor and things like that, that gets a little more seasonal, and we always welcome any help we can get, but at the same time, it's pretty hard to run a crew of people and have people coming and going at all times.
Where are all the want ads for employees in agriculture? Is it on Craigslist? Is it in the, something you put on your own website, or is there a Farm Bureau list of jobs available? How do people know where these jobs are and what they are?
So most farm bureaus have a list of farm contract, like labor contractors, and they coordinate with the people who are interested in farm labor, and they say, like, if Tyler needed like 50 people to help with harvest one season, he would talk to the contractor and they would say, okay, have these people available for you. So there are structures.
So you get in with a contractor.
That's one avenue to get quick labor. Our job training center in Tehama County has produced some great ag management supervisial type employees for some of my friends and their businesses, and so
and the ag commissioners throughout the state, every county has an ag commissioner, and there are constantly openings for investigators or biologists. If coming into actually any county ag office, we generally have postings from counties throughout the state.
How many people work for you?
There are 6 investigators, and then some clerical staff and a deputy myself.
And Paula from Willis called, and we should address this. Is the current immigrant situation having an effect on your ability to harvest crops in the North State here?
I don't harvest crops.
You'd hear about it though.
Oh yes, I would. Yes.
What do you guys think?
I think it's adding to the shortage of our labor, absolutely. And our pool is sort of drying up. Really, it seemed like right after 9/11 is when the borders clamped down and our supply of labor got shorter. And
So what kind of conversations are you having with legislators about immigration and your labor shortage? Are you asking for specific things to be done on the federal, state level?
Yes, I was just in DC in May discussing the Farm Bill and immigration reform with the senators and congressmen. And as Farm Bureau, we've looked at the Goodlatte bill, which is the proposed amendments to the immigration, and there is a proposed cap for how many immigrant workers they're going to allow per year in the United States, and it's 450,000, which California in one season could completely absorb just in one harvest. So we're needing the regulations to match the demands, and we don't see that that's happening with the Goodlatte bill. So we were discussing, because all 50 states are extremely diverse, as well as California, because we're producing almost every commodity represented in the world.
Over 400 crops are produced in California.
So we need these bills to not be one size fits all, because this state doesn't fit into the box that a lot of the regulation is trying.
A lot of regulation is maybe based on commodities.
Yes.
Midwestern.
Yes, or
things that we're in a specialty crop, we're in a different, our nuts
just
freeze or whatever.
Exactly. Just from Tehama to Shasta County, it's completely different. We don't have the nut or row crops that they do, and if you're thinking in terms of like how many miles that is, how many, like 3,000 square miles than Shasta County, so that's, you think of all of California, we have all of these diverse needs that legislature needs to represent.
And it's a federal issue, and that's the problem. I mean, we're one state out of the whole nation, and
With the largest need.
with the largest
with the
need.
largest
So,
need.
yeah.
So what are your hopes? Are you optimistic?
I'm optimistic. I am. I think the administration is seeking a solution to serve all of its constituents, and I think that we will get to a position as long as we keep the conversation friendly and we remain listening to each other's needs, I'm fairly optimistic about what the administration will decide.
So we have a legislator here in the North State who is a farmer. Is that made a difference?
I believe it has in terms of
Congressmember LaMalfa.
yes, yes, yes. He's a he's a rice farmer, and
Richville, yep.
I think that having his boots on the ground, for lack of a better term, in agriculture has helped in terms of like water regulation and property management, and he can recognize the hurdles that farmers will have to comply with these regulations, and I think he's been a great.
Have you had conversations with people running against him about where they are at in terms of agriculture?
I personally haven't.
But with Mr. LaMalfa, he's a very receptive ear, and he understands, as Aaron said, the needs of the farming community, and can relay those to other members of the House and Senate that might not have the understanding he does.
Is there anything we can do locally to make a difference? I mean, we're waiting for the feds to make these decisions. Sometimes
Absolutely.
we wait
Yeah.
a long time or are not satisfied. Are there the things that we can do at a local level?
Yes, absolutely. I personally attend Board of Supervisor meetings, Planning Commission meetings. I send letters of action. If there's a bill that's being introduced that I think is going to harm agriculture, California Farm Bureau has a farm pack that they prepare those talking points for you, and they draft letters, and you can just plug in your name and send it on to your representative. And there are things you can do at the grassroots level that you can join Farm Bureau. We're here to bat for you, and other organizations that have.
But why would somebody who's not a farmer want to join the Farm Bureau?
I think everyone who owns property or cares about water rights or agriculture,
Or where their food comes from.
absolutely, I think they should be a member of Farm Bureau. I think it's our
Interesting.
duty to continue to advocate for agriculture rights in the United States.
Do you have very many young people that are members?
We do, yes.
Has that grown? I'm just guessing
Yes.
it has grown in the last several years. What trends are you seeing in terms of younger farmers?
So we've seen a growth in the forestry and timber management. Our second vice president he owns his own timber biomass company, and he's only 24. So there's been a growth of younger
The age
farmers.
on the Shasta County Farm Bureau Board of Directors has decreased by younger people coming in and being involved.
I'm seeing municipalities and areas get involved in the bee issues in communities. Fort Bragg became a bee city. Orland is a bee city now. But I understand Reading has done some things.
Yeah, the city of Reading recently passed an ordinance to allow residents within the city limits to keep up to 3 hives. And they've had workshops. We've had outreach to show people and demonstrate to them a list of bee-friendly plants that they can put in to have various sources of pollen for the bees.
So this is something people can do if they're not farmers.
Correct.
Why is it important for people who are not farmers to do something like plant butterfly or bee-friendly plants?
I think one thing that's really important is, a long time ago, looking back, I think over 50% of our population was involved in agriculture. Today, when I graduated college, they used to say about 1% of our population was involved in agriculture. Nowadays, I've heard figures as low as down to 0.5%. So anytime we can get people interested in agriculture and maybe a little bit more sympathetic to our needs and where their food, and also understand where their food comes from and why we do the crazy things we do, it's a good thing.
So Andrea from Chico submitted this question. When is the valley going to go organic and stop polluting our food, soil, water, and air supply? When are we going to kick cancerous chemicals out of the valley? Where are we at in terms of organic?
Well, here in California, we grow some of the safest food in the world, and we're some of the best stewards of the environment in the world. Our stream beds and water supplies are tested regularly for nitrates and chemical residue, and coming up with virtually nothing. Our foods are tested for pesticide residues at all times. We have strict regulations on how we apply any kind of crop protectant we apply, and it has to go through a lot of testing. So we do a really good job here. The other thing to remember about organic farming is it's a lot like not vaccinating one of your children that goes to school. You know, it's called thing called herd immunity, and if everybody around you is taking care of all their orchards and keeping pests free of their orchards, somebody in the middle can get away with possibly not with farming different practices. But when everybody does it, it's a different story.
What are some of the changes that have gone on? I mean, I look at the agricultural school, the farm at Chico State, and there's an organic garden. That's a big project. There is, they're working with Sierra Nevada on real sustainable agricultural practices for the food in the restaurant and doing the hops to feed the cattle. I mean, there's a lot of sustainable practices and trying to stay away from well, go organic in some of the things, and organic dairy. Is that a growing industry for people interested in farming?
The number of organic farms in Shasta County has been increasing every year for the last 4 or 5 years. As Tyler said, the testing that's done on both conventional and organic, we pull samples and send them down to the state on a regular basis to test to make sure that they're all pesticide free, residue free. One misnomer about the organics is that there are still materials they can use. They have to be approved on the organic list, but there's still pesticides to control pests. So they're still applying pesticides. They're generally softer materials, but there are still materials that are applied to control pests.
So when did this term softer chemicals come in? Is that a newer term, or is that something that's been around for a while?
Generally less, softer on the environment, less harmful to beneficials. A little safer for applicators and in the environment, the water. It's a recent term that's been used.
So Tyler, out at your farm, what have you seen change over these years in terms of chemical and pesticide use? What have you noticed?
Well, what I've noticed is we've for one thing, we have improved trapping methods. So we're able to trap for insects in our fields nowadays with special pheromone traps. So we're able to tell if the insects are present and when they come. Whereas back a long time ago, you just maybe would have to guess. The other thing, the use of the softer chemicals that are more specific. We nowadays are using certain crop protectants that may give a bug a stomach ache rather than killing things. So they have shorter half-lives. They're safer on the environment. We also nowadays do a thing in the orchard. We use a program called Integrated Pest Management, where we learn that there is a relationship between the bugs in our orchard. And it's, Paul said, there's beneficials out there, and we're cognizant of that nowadays. So nowadays we're looking at the leaves with a hand lens, and we're identifying. I always tell the 4th grade kids it's kind of like a football game, and you count them up and see who's winning. And at times you will see that the beneficials are actually going to take over and win, and nothing is needed. And that was something 30 years ago that really wasn't too well understood. So we're learning there's a relationship in the orchard between the different various bugs and pests in the orchard. And if we use that to our advantage, it can really help.
So where do you get this information as several generations into farming, a family? How are you learning these new things? Because obviously there are great changes going on in terms of the chemical and the pesticide use and the organic movement in farming. So is this because you did experiments as a family, or is it because you went to the agricultural commissioner or the farm bureau? How did this change?
The pest control advisor that I mentioned earlier, the continuing education for that position is quite extensive, and they're working with the manufacturers and on pest identification, on controlling pests, and as Tyler said, looking at not just the pest that's going to do the damage, but the beneficials, and looking to have very specific materials that will leave the beneficials and target just those pests that are going to do the damage, and waiting until if just because you see one of the pests doesn't mean you need to spray. As Tyler said, there's a certain threshold that they can sustain of the number of pests.
Our University of California is the lead by far.
Yes.
UC
nation.
Cooperative Extension, they're the ones that are really, they lead the charge on almost all of our pest issues, varietal issues, breeding issues. They also do efficacy tests on certain crop protectants. So they're
So you count on them quite
we
a bit.
count on them like
They
crazy.
have a lot of workshops. They have a lot of newsletters.
They
that
hold
send out to
workshops
growers,
and
yeah.
continuing education, which is mandated all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that?
So if I personally don't know the answer, I will call one of three people, and it's usually Paul's office at the Ag Commissioner or the Farm Advisor, which is Larry Ferrero for Shasta County, or one of my directors, so one of the actual physical farmers. So there are huge assets. A lot of the times people come to the office and don't know where to start in terms of like, beginning a farm, and they're huge assets.
So sometimes, you know, you go to the farmer's market and some of them are certified organic or have a section that's certified organic. And it seems like maybe, do you think the organic movement has grown here because of the farmer's market, or is that related?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think that there's been a trend of people who are in favor of organic versus conventional agriculture. Plus, the farmers market supplies this very fun, liberating agricultural experience. It's kind of like the same as like a hayride in the fall. It's very experiential, and there's been a growth of farmers markets. We actually have a certified farmers market in Shasta County that was just established this last year and certified by Paul.
Yeah, and there's 7 markets in Shasta County
Oh, I didn't know that.
every week, and most of them do have some produce that's organic. We go out and confirm that the people that are bringing that produce, those vegetables or the fruit, are actually the people that grew it, that they're actually growing it. So you get that tie-in with the person that actually grew the commodity that you're purchasing.
Some people wonder sometimes because they go and they say, is this organic? And the people say, well, it's not certified organic, but I don't use any pesticides or something. So
Yeah.
it gets a little confusing.
Yeah.
I know some farms I went to, I think it was off either 32 or 99, but they said, well, I can get certified because I'm within so many yards or something of the highway, but all my practices
Oh.
are organic. So
Yeah,
how do you know?
There's a process to go through to become organic, and it's generally a 3-year process to go from conventional to organic. The word organic is a legal term. Pesticide-free or natural is not. So again, those growers, and again, the number of organic farms in the county has been increasing over the number of years, and it's mainly customer demand.
People used to say it used to be too expensive to grow organic. Is that still something that farmers are saying, or is it a better market nowadays for organics?
I think it's a better market. The conventional versus organic, you might have a higher yield with conventional. There may be a little bit more damage due to pest pressures from organic, but you will likely get a higher return.
Exactly. And on a larger scale, it can be pretty difficult to farm large-scale monocultures of organic. But in a garden setting or a farmer's market setting, it's much more doable.
So if people want to buy directly from farmers, they can go to the farmer's market. Is there another way?
A
do
lot
we
of our
do it?
local shops have local products as well. We have A&R Butchers down in Red Bluff that has some local products. We have some fruit stands in Dairyville that are wonderful. Julia's and Burleson's.
Yeah. There's a number of the fruit stands.
fruit
in the
stands are
county.
great.
Yeah.
And a lot of the beekeepers, you can go directly to their house. There's boxes outside with honey, and you can just on our system give them the money and take a jar of honey to go.
So are there ways to visit farms and orchards? Is there a program? I know there's like a Butte County, there's a farm tour. Is that?
Yeah.
Tehama County does the
have
same
that?
thing. We have Farm City Week. That's a great time to get involved and see a farm.
Well,
And the fair right now.
right now, fair's going on. Yeah, you want to.
All the farmers are down there?
You want to meet the youth that's coming up. Go to the fair for the FFA and 4-H and.
And you say Shasta High School has a farm, in
Yes.
Anderson, there are farms. So the schools, how about East Eastern Shasta County? Is that,
Fall River High School is very involved with the community and vice versa.
does it take community support to keep those ag programs in the schools?
There is a lot of community support for the ag programs we have in Shasta County, at West Valley and at the Shasta Farm and up in the Fall River area. There's a lot of community support.
It helps improve the quality of their.
So we don't have much time. Who would like to tell folks, if they're not farmers, why they should care about agriculture?
Well, I think they all eat.
Yeah.
They all eat.
Anybody likes to eat.
There's so much in politics right now, and it's in immigration, it's in the labor market, it's in the tariffs, it's in everything. Why should people pay attention to these really difficult issues? Is it important? Or should they just go to the farmer's market and buy from a farmer and eat? Is that
Agriculture in our state, and especially in our North State, is a far-reaching industry too. We have the truck drivers, we have equipment dealers, equipment manufacturers and repairmen. We have the actual farmers. We have the pest control advisors.
The dryers.
We
and
have
the
dryers and processing businesses, packing businesses. There's a lot of careers and a lot of people involved in agriculture besides just the guy on the tractor or the guy that's irrigating all the time.
And we
So-
have a lot of people, change their yards from green grass to non-invasive species. There are a lot of people in their backyard. If somebody just wants to do this in their backyard, are there services for them? All the services you provide with the Farm Bureau and such, we just have 1 minute left. So maybe you could tell people, if you're just a backyard farmer, what kind of services are there for you to learn more?
So the Shasta County Farm Bureau, and I'm sure the Tehama County as well, holds innovative workshops and educational workshops. We held one on chicken production, and it's very small. Like if you have 6 chickens, this is how you feed them, take care of them, or how to grow your tomatoes properly. We do the small scale hobby farming workshops that you can.
How do people find out? You have a webpage for
We
that?
do, the ShastaFarmBureau.com. And we have a Facebook page as well.
Thank you so much. We're going to wrap this up, and we've been talking on North State Issues on KIXE about agriculture, and our thanks to Action News Now for the video footage they provided of the ag industry in Northern California. Aaron Johnson with the Shasta County Farm Bureau, Paul Jose, Agricultural Commissioner with Shasta County, and of course the Sealer of Weights and Measures, and Tyler Christensen, Farmer and President of the Tehama County Farm Bureau with Edwards Ranch out there by Dairyville. Thanks so much for
Thank you.
talking with
Thank
us.
Thanks for having us.
Got it all right.